How you been, Bob?
Yeah, doing great. Rich, yourself?
I'm doing fine. So what were your impressions of Cooperstown yesterday with Smoltz giving a speech about Tommy John surgery and Pedro Martinez talking about where he's from and his roots?
Yeah, I thought those two guys were the highlights, kind of stole the show. You know, particularly Pedro, just so passionate about the Dominican Republic. Made sure to have a coat of arms emblem on his right shoulder, U.S. flag on the left. And just, he wants to be a role model for the country. Forget baseball, but just to show that you can do it. You can come from a tough background and be a great model citizen. And I knew John was going to talk about Tommy John, and I think it's perfect. This kid is almost just a slap against all this travel ball, saying you're wearing your kids out. Playing 10, 11, 12 months a year. Take some time off, let the kids have fun, and play all the sports.
Bob Nightengale joining me here now. And, Pedro probably would have given that speech regardless of the Colin Cowherd comments. And, the one issue that really struck me in regards to what, Colin said about Dominican Republic players was the fact that Major League Baseball, it's so rare that a league would send out a release about something that is said by somebody in the media. Major League Baseball put out a press release last week. Bob, do you ever recall that happening at all? You've been covering this sport since '86.
You're talking about maybe go back to the days of John Rocker, but he was a player, not a media representative. So no, I don't remember a media type thing. Just players in itself like that. Particularly Rocker, and that's what it certainly resurrects memories of. And the union jumped in too, and so wait a minute now, These are corporate sponsors. You can let this happen, and I think the union was really, really upset by this.
Bob Nightengale joining me here from USA Today. All right, let's talk about the trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Where do you think Cole Hamels winds up by that point, Bob?
I still think he ends up with the Dodgers. I just think it's a natural fit. Gives him protection. Gives Greinke leaves once he opts out of his contract. And this guy's from the top left of the game. I think he goes to that bandbox in Philadelphia, goes to National League West. He can be a combination of Greinke and Kershaw. I think he's that good. And, if David Price is out there, maybe the Dodgers say, what, we'll grab Price instead. But I think they come up with one of these two guys.
So where does Price and or Hamels go if not the Dodgers?
The Blue Jays have to do something, and you can't waste this kind of offense they have. And I think they'll have a mutiny on their hands if they don't make some major moves by getting a starter. They were after Johnny Cueto. And those are the two best guys out there. It's a drop-off from there. They can always go to Jeff Samardzija. But here, White Sox just win 4 in a row now. They're not even 100% sure they're going to be sellers. But Samardzija would make the most sense in Toronto if they can't get a price.
Is there any bat worthwhile out there, like a big bopper? Is anybody putting a bat up for grabs in the next couple of days?
Well, if Cespedes is moved, he'd be the biggest bat. Then you go on Justin Upton, of San Diego, who's been very streaky in the struggle for the last month and a half or so. And Jay Bruce from Cincinnati, but not just automatic guys. I think Cespedes would be the top billing easily if he's out there.
What's the story of the first half, do you think, right now, Bob, of the baseball season? What's the story that leaps out at you?
For a long time, it was probably Bryce Harper just, kind of coming on and living up to all the hype for the first time. And then since then, it's pretty much the same old story. It's Mike Trout with his $10 Pujols with these two guys, kind of, resurrecting memories of Maris and Mantle. Just a 1-2 wrecking crew is what these guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, the name of Mickey Mantle keeps coming up with him, and it has been ever since he burst onto the scene here in Southern California by way of New Jersey. And I even asked him about that, and he said, yeah, I hear it, and, it flatters him, but it really is the truth. I mean, he really is all that, Bob. I'd love for you to put in perspective what we're seeing from Mike Trout now that he is a 23-year-old coming up.
Yeah, I mean, just the way he handles himself is great, and fans love him, and just teammates love him. But just always playing with a kind of a smile on his face, kind of the same type of grin really as Mickey Mantle. And you look at the face, there's also some facial features that are similar with everything. But just the way he goes about it, and does everything well. Runs the way Mickey used to before the knee injuries. And I think just a great hope. I mean, he's people talk about who is the next guy after Derek Jeter, and even though he's 20, 23, you look at him and say, well, he's going to be this guy for the next 15, 20 years.
Bob Nightengale of USA Today joining me here on the program. Do the Yankees do anything before Friday?
Rich, they say they're not going to trade any of their top 4 prospects. But, I keep saying, well, what are prices out there? I don't get a response. It's like, I think if Price is out there, they got to do what they can to get him, knowing they go deep in the playoffs. And this could have a magical year for him. Nobody thought this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, Teixeira is, playing the best he's played for years. And, A-Rod's playing the best he has in about 10 years. But these two guys on fire and healthy, they got to take advantage of it.
And he's doing everything right, A-Rod. He's saying all the right things. He's acting all the right ways. He's hugging his teammates. He's high-fiving. He's hitting home runs. I am stunned that his 2015 season is going the way it's been going. Bob.
Yeah, a complete transformation. I mean, just his whole image and everything else. He's only got some great advice. And, he's been, thanking people for writing nice stories and sending emails, things like that. Just 180 degrees.
Where's this guy been, Bob? Where has this guy been? Where's this coming from? Seriously, you've covered him for his whole career, and you hear all the A-Rod stories about how he always got bad advice, and he was always into himself, and he was jealous of Jeter. I mean, none of that is happening right now. 0% of it, Bob.
No, I think being on a baseball, they're really scared. I'm like, oh man, that's my legacy. It's kind of a losing type of guy. And now it's almost like he's saying, okay, let me see if I can change his legacy before I retire. I got 3 years left in the contract. But he's, you said, saying all the right things, doing the right things. I mean, not one scintilla of controversy or negativism out of his mouth.
And then if you want to go Yankee old school, you got Reggie getting into some fisticuffs in Cooperstown. That's like back in the day. Bob, what happened with Reggie in Cooperstown?
It got overblown. He claims that there was a fan on the golf course that got his autograph and went back in line and tried to get it again. And he went to dinner. The same fan sees him at dinner. And Reggie lost his cool, which he apologized for. But he says never did he ever touch anybody or push anybody. And there's been no evidence of that. Certainly no police complaints. Nothing by the restaurant manager. So that part got overblown. I think he just lost his cool as a maybe overzealous autograph seeker.
He's Reginald Martinez-Jackson, though. That's the man. Number 44 in your program, number 1 in your heart, at least back when I was a young Yankee fan back in the day in New York. Thanks for calling in, Bob. I'd love to check in with you throughout the rest of the baseball season.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, you bet. That's Bob Nightengale of USA Today joining me here on the program.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.